Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharine Swamine Tapaharine Om Anjaneyaya Vidmahe Vayuputraya Dhimahi Tanno Hanuman Prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namo Narayanaya and Namaste to our Maharaj and dear devotees. We heartily welcome you, Maharaj, to our program today and are very happy to have you with us. We wish everyone a very blessed Hanuman Jayanti. May Hanumanji shower his blessings on all of us. Thank you, Maharaj, for accepting our invitation to speak today. And we are so happy that Maharaj is on our program. We all know that COVID has brought with it many challenges and much suffering. The thing that has emerged is that we can all connect and listen to Maharaj's very interesting and inspiring discourses. Many of us admire revered Maharaj for the lucid manner in which abstruse Vedantic concepts are made so clear and explicit for all to understand. I am sure on this blessed and holy day, we will enjoy listening to revered Maharaj's address. Our program director, Ms. Prakashni Gangan, will now formally introduce Maharaj. Jai Shrima.
Om Namo Narayanaya, revered Pravrajika Ishtaprana Mataji, revered Swami Sarva Priyanandaji Maharaj, distinguished guests, and dear sisters and brothers. It gives me great joy to extend a warm and cordial welcome to each and every one of you to the Sri Sarada Devi Ashram special lecture on the auspicious occasion of Hanuman Jayanti. This webinar is being recorded. All dialed-in participants will be muted and their videos switched off for the duration of the lecture. However, the chat box functionality will be open during the session, and you are most welcome to post your questions and comments via this functionality during the course of the webinar. You're also welcome to pose your questions to revered Maharaj during the question and answer session later. We are indeed blessed to be in the holy company of revered Swami Sarva Priyanandaji Maharaj, the head of the Vedanta Society of New York, a position revered Maharaj has held since January 2017. Revered Maharaj is a prolific writer and speaker on Vedanta and is no stranger to South African devotees, as many have followed revered Maharaj's discourses on online platforms. Revered Maharaj has been a speaker on various prestigious forums, such as TEDx, SAND, and has given a Google talk. He has also been invited to speak at several universities across the world, including Harvard. And he has played a prominent role in organizing and participating in various interfaith panels and seminars, including speaking at the World Parliament of Religions in Toronto in 2018 and at the United Nations headquarters in New York. Revered Maharaj's popular talks have been compiled into a collection of ebooks titled Who Am I? What is Vedanta? And Dissolve into Infinity, and they are available on Amazon Kindle. We respectfully invite Revered Maharaj to address us on spiritual life according to Swami Vivekananda. Revered Maharaj.
Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharma swarupine avatara varisthaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha Jananim Saradam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu Namashri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Surai Satchid Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. Salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, salutations to Holy Mother Sri Sarada Devi, salutations to Swami Vivekananda, salutations to Mahavir Hanumanji. My namaskars and pranams to all those who are here in this online program, especially my pranams to revered Mataji, and my gratitude to her and to her team for organizing this program and inviting me to be part of it. Now, before I enter into my subject, I was wondering if some of you would like to, keep your cameras on, if some of you like it. It's easier for me to speak to people I can see rather than a blank screen, and it's very difficult for me to speak to just to see nobody and then just my own face. All of you don't have to put on your cameras, whoever is comfortable, whatever is comfortable for you. This is Hanuman Jayanti, and one is immediately reminded of the tremendous regard and reverence Swami Vivekananda. Why is it Swami Vivekananda? Sri Ramakrishna also held Hanumanji in. Hanuman's great sagacity, philosophical insight. The one story that Sri Ramakrishna approved of is when Sri Ramachandra asks Hanuman, what do you think of me? This is the Lord asking the devotee, what do you think of me? And Hanuman's answer is something that's tremendous. It's of extraordinary relevance to us down the ages, especially for its philosophical acumen and the synthetic approach to spiritual life. What did Hanuman say? He said, Deha buddhya dasoham, jiva buddhya twadangshaka, atma buddhya tu tvamevaham iti me nishchitamati. He says to Sri Ramachandra, from the perspective of this individual body, I am Hanuman, I am your servant. Thou art my master, I am your servant. That's our relationship. That's how I see you and myself. But from the perspective of this sentient being, in this body, in this identity, I'm Hanuman. But I know I am this personality, this sentient being who has been going across lifetimes like everybody else. Many lives I have lived. As this sentient being, I am your part. You are the whole, and I am your part. And then he says, from the perspective of the Atman, from the perspective of our innermost reality, you and I are one reality. From the perspective of from consciousness, from the perspective of Brahman. Which one is correct? Servant, master, part or whole, or absolute identity? We are one with God. And Hanuman says all three. Iti me nishchitamati. This is my conviction. What is your conviction? All three are my conviction. And all three are correct from different perspectives. So the first one, obviously, is the paradigm of Dvaita, of a dualistic approach to religion. That is, I am there and God exists. And I have a relationship to God. It could be the servant and master, as Hanuman said, or it could be God is my father or mother, and I am the child. Sri Ramakrishna liked that attitude, that God is my mother and I am the child. Or it could be, a friend, that Sri Krishna and Arjuna, they had a relationship of friendship, or Sudama had a relation of friendship with Sri Krishna. Josephine MacLeod, the American devotee, she was so close to Swami Vivekananda, but she never said that she was a disciple of Swami Vivekananda. She would always claim that I am Swami Vivekananda's friend. And Swami Vivekananda also acknowledged that she came complete. So you can have a relationship of friendship with the divine. I met this sadhu long ago in the Himalayas, who would call, oh no, I heard about this sadhu, who would call the divine God, Mera Yar, my friend, my buddy. It's a colloquial way of referring to a friend. And then one can have the relationship of God as the beloved, like the gopis had with Krishna. So multiple relationships can be there, but the central thing is there's a distinction, I and the divine. Definitely the divine is there, and I set up a relationship with the divine. Swami Vivekananda used to say, in Vedanta, what we do is we divinize our human relationships and humanize our divine relationship. So the attitude of servant and master is a human relationship, but attitude of a friend is a human relationship. The attitude of a father and mother with the child is a human relationship. And the other way also can be there, you can be a parent to God. That's also there. That's the idea behind having Gopala, the baby Krishna, or Ram Lala, the baby Rama, or the baby Jesus. So the Lord as your baby. So that is a very high and very elevated attitude towards towards a baby. You don't have awe. You don't pray for things from a baby. You take care of the baby. You love the baby and take care of the baby. And if you can have that kind of an attitude towards God, what an amazing attitude to have. But that's also a human relationship. The attitude of the beloved, of the lover, is a human relationship. And we set up these human relationships with the divine, with the almighty power behind this extraordinary universe, that which upon everything in our lives depends upon the will of the divine power. But we set up a human relationship, and we divinize our human relationships with father, mother, brother, sister, husband, wife, children, grandchildren, community members, co-workers. We see the divinity in every one of them. So this is one attitude. It is a dualistic, Dvaita attitude. Then you go to the, I am a sentient being, you are the whole, I am your part. This is Vishishta Dvaita Vedanta, where Amsha Amshi, or the technical term is Shesha Sheshi. We have all heard of the term Shesha Naga. So that term is Shesha, means an aspect or part of the divine. So we are not excluded from the divine. We share in the being of God. We are one. We share in the divine oneness. So divinity is the vast, and we are a tiny, tiny part of it. God is the ocean, of which we are a wave. God is the blazing fire, to use an Upanishadic metaphor. We are sparks from that blazing fire, and so on. That's the Vishishtadvaita approach. And then he goes even further. He says that, no, you and I are one. From our innermost reality, Hanuman says, my Lord, you and I are the same reality. That is an Advaitic approach. There's one existence consciousness bliss, of which I, the individual, and the world I experience, and the God I believe in, they're all manifestations of one ground of this existence, Satchidananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. I am that reality, and you and I are one reality. And all three, Advaita, Vishishtadvaita, Dvaita, all three are possible, all three are good, all three are beneficial, and indeed true, from different aspects, from different attitudes, different perspectives. And this approach of Hanuman is very much to Sri Ramakrishna's liking. You see in Hanuman's character is something that Swami Vivekananda recommended again and again. If you want a hero, if you want to mold your character according to somebody, it should be Hanuman. Look at the harmony of the yogas. Today is going to talk about spiritual life according to Swami Vivekananda. It simply means you talk about the 4 yogas. You talk about the way of knowledge, we talk about the way of meditation, the way of devotion, and the way of action and service. And all 4 are beautifully combined in the character of Hanuman. If you just see the Hanuman Chalisa, which was just recited, which many people recite as part of the daily devotions. Many people, they carry the Hanuman Chalisa around in their pockets or their handbags. So in the Hanuman Chalisa, you will see the lines. He says that Rama Kaja Karibe ko atur. Again and again, Ramachandra ki Kaja Samare. again and again it is mentioned how Hanuman is intent on accomplishing the purposes of his Lord Sri Ramachandra. That what do I really want to do? I want to spend my time, my energy, my powers, my time on this world, if I can be of some little service to the Lord. It's a great blessing to be given an opportunity to serve the Lord. We spend our lives in matters of such nonsense. I think I always feel, and more I feel, it is a sign of maturity when you begin to see the centrality of God. I'm not saying Advaita Vedanta, I'm saying any kind of spirituality. You may be a devotee, you may be a meditator, you may be a non-dualist, but you see the importance of spiritual life. Then only I will call you mature. Before that, we are just children playing around in the dust of this world. So Rama Kaja Karive Ko Atur, he's intent upon accomplishing the purposes of Sri Ramachandra. Karma Yogi, perfect Karma Yogi. And Swami Vivekananda has mentioned it again and again. Those wonderful quotes which were put up just now, if you saw those when the Hanuman Chalisa was being chanted, that shows Karma Yoga, Hanuman as the perfect Karma Yogi, with all tremendous vigor and energy and dynamism. He literally jumps into the work of Sri Ramachandra. And by that we are blessed. Then you see again, Prabhu Charitra Sunibe Ko Rasya. What does he delight in? What is his heart's content? What gives him joy? To hear about Sri Ramachandra, to hear about Ramachandra, Ram and Sita, and the glories of Sri Ramachandra, of Mother Sita. This gives him joy. This is devotion. That my joy is not in the world. After all, what is desire? It's a desire. It is the flowing out of our mind to the object, from the subject to the object, expecting that if I get this, this kind of food, this kind of gadget, that kind of a job, this kind of an environment, this kind of friends and relationships, then I will be happy. Especially this day and age, people don't question it. They think that it is through some kind of, especially some kind of relationship, that one seeks to be happy. And yet you never see that happening. If you are very lucky, you will see in maturity that yes, those things have their place, but real satisfaction does not come from an object, does not come from a thing, does not come from anything in the world outside. This turning away from the object to the subject. So desire makes us flow outward into the world. Now, one way is to take all this desire and turn it towards God. This is called bhakti. That same power which is pulling me out into the world, distracting me with 1,000 different things in the world, which tempt me and pull me out and promise to give me some happiness and fulfillment, and they do not. They disappoint us. That power which is flowing out continuously in 100, 1,000 different streams, you gather it together and make it flow towards God. The Holy Mother said, my child, if you direct your love towards the merely human, towards the person, or even worse, just towards the body, then you're bound to suffer. Manushke bhalobasle baba ma dukkho pabe, she says in Bengali. If you love just the human, but you love the divine in the human, in all beings, and then you will truly be able to love the human also. If you love God, you will get joy. That is bhakti. You love God directly, and you love God in and through all beings whom you see around, human and even animal and all sentient beings. That is bhakti. And you see in Hanuman, Rama Charitra ko, Prabhu Charitra ko sunive ko rasya, that pull is there, that his joy is in God, that his joy is in Ramachandra, not in the world. He does not care for what happens in the world. Then another line, if you notice, Rama Lakhan Sita Man Basiya. His mind is ever intent, his heart, his mind is ever occupied with Lord Ramachandra and Lakshmana and Mother Sita. That we used to have these rather tacky calendar pictures in India, which you see Hanuman opening up his rib cage and showing is a picture of Rama and Sita and Lakshman. They are in his heart. But there's a good point to that. The point is, what have we got in our heart? Where is your mind going? Yes, I have made up my mind. I'm going to be a sadhaka. I'm going to realize God. Good. That's very important. That's central. Our identity now is a sadhaka. We want to realize God. But now, notice moment to moment, from time to time, where is our mind going? What are we thinking about? And we will discover, to a dismay, or a surprise and shock, we are thinking about the world. We are thinking about people and my own problems. We are not thinking about the Lord. This is focus. This is the characteristic of a dhyani, of a meditator. Thoughts mostly will flow more and more towards the divine. Not be bothered too much about the world or even oneself. So the mind is concerned with the divine. This is the sign of a dhyani, dhyana yoga. And then jnani, of course, the very first line you sing in Hanuman Chalisa, Jai Hanuman, Jnana Gun Sagar. He's a Mahajnani. Notice how he reconciles Advaita, Vishishtadvaita, Dvaita. He has realized the ultimate reality, and that Aham Brahmasmi, has realized it. And from every perspective, he has harmonized, synthesized his spiritual life. There is devotion in his life. There is tremendous action in his life. There is meditative absorption in his life, and all on the basis of the knowledge of the reality. Notice how he synthesizes devotion and knowledge. He is perfectly, he knows Aham Brahmasmi, he has realized it. You see, when we chant the Ram Nam, in the Mangalacharan, we always chant from the prayer of Hanuman, Srinathe Janaki Nathe, Abheda Paramatmani, Tathapi Mama Sarvasva, Sri Rama Kamalalochana. I know that Janakinath, Avatar, Ramchandra, my Lord, is none other than God, is Vishnu. So Srinatha, the Lord of Lakshmi, Srinatha is Vishnu, and Avatar is Ramchandra, I know. And we are all one. Abheda Paramatmani, Ishvara Gururatmeti, Murti Bheda Vibhagine. Lord God and my Guru and I, we are all different manifestations of one undivided consciousness. He says, I know, Abheda Paramatmani, we are all one. And he says, I know that perfectly well, I have realized it. Tathapi, even then, now here is bhakti coming in. Even then, Mama Sarvasva, for me, everything in my life, my all in all, is the lotus-eyed Ramachandra. That is bhakti speaking. The first line was jnana speaking, and both he has reconciled. Both, for him, there's no contradiction. On the basis of firm jnana, there is bhakti. It can be, I mean, the manifestation can be in different ways. Swami Vivekananda himself says about Sri Ramakrishna. He says about himself, Swami Vivekananda says, I am a jnani on the outside, but inside I am all bhakti, I'm all love. He says, I'm very soft inside. And about Sri Ramakrishna, he says, only outside, he would say old man. The old man was, on the outside, he was all love. The inside, he was all knowledge. He was completely jnana inside. And he says, I am just the opposite, Vivekananda says. And you can see that in Hanuman. You can see why Vivekananda loved a character like Hanuman, why he loved a character like Nachiketa, because they are very much like Vivekananda. He saw like a mirror reflection of himself in these characters. Let us first start. In the time remaining to me, I will quickly touch upon these different aspects of spiritual life, which are beautifully exemplified in the life of Hanuman. Let us first start with our own experience of life. You know, the foundation of all of this. My predilection is for the way of knowledge, Advaita Vedanta, as many of you would know. So I generally feel like comfortable starting there. And Sri Ramakrishna himself says, Advaita Gyan Achole Bedhe Jaichatai Karo. You tie the knowledge of Advaita to the hem of your cloth. Achol means like the sari. When traditionally Indian women wear the sari, and there is they tie keys of the household. They used to tie to the hem of their cloth. He says, tie like that, tie the knowledge of Advaita, non-duality, the identity of yourself with the macrocosm with the microcosm. You are that absolute reality. That knowledge, we regard it as very high, final. But Sri Ramakrishna says, you start with that, tie it to the hem of your cloth, and then follow whatever path you will, do whatever you like, means whatever combination. You may be a jnani and a great a person who is very active, dynamic in service, or you may be very devotional, or you may be very inward and meditative. Swami Vivekananda says, by one or more or all of these, and be free by knowledge, by devotion, by service, or by inward mental control, meditation. Which one? Any one of these, or more than one of these, two of these or three of these, or all of these, and be free. That is the whole of religion. Books, temples, doctrines, churches are secondary details. Hanuman, not Hanuman, Swami Vivekananda says this. The first one is what one might call the direct path. Just look at our own experience of life. We have these, we know so many things in life. Two ways basically. One way is directly through our senses. We see things, we hear, we smell, we touch, we taste. So rupa, rasa, gandha, sparsha, forms and sound and taste and touch and fragrance, all of these we sense directly through our sense instruments. The technical term for this is pratyaksha. Aksha literally means eyes, but it stands for all sense organs. So pratyaksha means that which is presented to our senses, and we have direct knowledge of these. But then there's a lot, actually much more we know, which we don't know directly through our senses, but we know it by hearing and studying and through inference, through the testimony of reputed person or authorities. So we have scientific knowledge to gain through scientific processes. Actually, not gain through scientific processes. Most of us, we don't go through scientific processes to get scientific knowledge. We go to school. We go to school and we read and we study, and whatever is written in the textbooks, whatever is explained by the teachers, that's how we get scientific knowledge. Most of us, we don't actually go and repeat the experiments, and we don't need to. Evidence from testimony is very important. We think that if the Vedas say so, or the Bible or the Quran says so, and we follow, that's just faith. You are believing, taking something on faith. I was just thinking how much of our so-called scientific evidence, also scientific knowledge, is also taken on faith in that sense. It's because the scientific community has agreed upon knowledge, and that is presented to us in school and college and university, and that's how we learn. And there's nothing wrong in it. When there are checks and balances, the knowledge given to us by authorities is good. So our good deal of our knowledge is scientific knowledge based indirectly, which we don't see directly, but we get it through various sources, or things like common sense knowledge, general knowledge of the world, which we get through many sources. It could just be the train schedule of the subway, or your computer telling you the birthday of your friend. All of these are different sources. We call them paroksha, that which comes to us not directly through the senses, but through other sources. Now, why am I going on and on about this? This is called epistemology, how we know things. But notice one thing, all of this knowledge, pratyaksha or paroksha, whatever we know through our senses, whatever we know through our through other sources, it all depends on awareness. You are conscious. When you're seeing, you are aware. When you hear, you are aware. When you smell, taste, touch, you're aware. When you read a scientific textbook, listen to a Vedanta lecture, you're aware. Your sensory experiences keep changing. What you read and hear and all of that keeps changing. Pratyaksha and paroksha types of knowledge keeps changing all the time. Awareness does not change. Awareness is ever shining. And this awareness, there is a term for that. The term is aparoksha. If you translate it, it's like a double negative, non-indirect. So it's not direct sense perception. It's not indirect knowledge like book knowledge. It is neither sense perception nor indirect knowledge. It is called aparoksha, not pratyaksha, not paroksha. Why not direct knowledge? Because for direct sense knowledge, you need an object. To see, you need forms. To hear, you need sounds. To smell, you need a fragrance, or to taste, you need a taste, a food item which you can taste. They're all objects, all objects. Awareness is not an object. So it cannot be objectified. It cannot be pratyaksha. It's not something you can see, hear, smell, taste, touch. So is it something vague, something you read about in books? No, this is something that must be grasped. You see, awareness is not vague. It is the most clear, most direct of all things. It's because of awareness we are able to see, hear, smell, taste, touch. It's because of awareness that we are able to read and memorize, understand, remember. All of these things are because of awareness. But this awareness is not an object. So it is called aparoksha. It is more direct than objects. It's not indirect like reading about it. It's not even sensory perception. It's more direct than objects. This aparoksha knowledge, awareness, is what is investigated in the path of knowledge. What we do in Drigdrishya Viveka, in the method of the seer and the seen, in Panchakosha Viveka, in investigation into the 5 layers of our personality, in Avasthatraya Vichara, in the investigation of waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, we are trying to appreciate, trying to recognize that this awareness is our real nature. Some of you must have seen some of these videos on these talks on Drigdrishya Viveka or Panchakosha Vichara. All of them, they just do that try to recognize what awareness is, not the object of awareness. All the time we are focused on the object of awareness. We are focused on people, on sounds and smells and books we read and good and bad news we get. But what is the awareness to which all of this is appearing? Notice one thing, this awareness is not changing. Every object of knowledge is changing. And the knowledge we get is also changing because the object is changing. But the awareness, this aparoksha jnana, is not changing. It's constantly there. Also notice that this aparoksha jnana is ever the subject. It's never an object. Awareness is that which is illumining all objects. Whether when you are seeing, what you see outside is an object. The glasses through which you see is an object. The eyes are also an object because you are aware of them. The mind which is thinking, oh, I'm seeing a computer screen. That mind is also an object because that's a thought. You are aware of it. But that which objectifies the mind, and through that the sense objectifies the sensory system, and through the mind and the sensory system objectifies this world, that awareness is never an object. It's ever the subject. This is called drashta. It is you, the awareness, you are ever the drashta, never a drishya, never an object. In one of the hymns we sing to Sri Ramakrishna, Yo vetti sakalam nachayasya vetta, buddhescha sakshi nikhilasya janto. Of all sentient beings, the one which is the witness of the mind, of the intellect, who sees everything, who experiences everything, but whom nobody experiences. Whom are we singing to? We are singing to Sri Ramakrishna. But that's your real nature. It is consciousness itself we are chanting this hymn to, which means Sri Ramakrishna, God, and our innermost consciousness, this drashta, one and same reality according to the path of knowledge, is the same reality itself. Nachayasya vetta, nobody knows that reality. In Khandana Bhavabandhana, in the Arati hymn, every evening we all sing the Ujala Ridikandara, that which shines in the darkness of our hearts. We imagine it to be, there's a heart and that some kind of light is flickering. But no, it's the light of awareness which we all have all the time. There, that which dispels darkness. Jyotira Jyoti, Ujalaridi Kandara, the light of lights. What do you mean light of lights? Here is a light, the electric light, there is the sunlight, but that light will not illumine anything. This is illumining the whole world, but notice it will not illumine anything unless you open your eyes. It will not, nothing will be revealed to you unless you open your eyes. Your eyes are the light of the sun. The sun is the light of the world, but your eyes are the light of the sun. But your eyes also will not reveal anything to you unless the mind is paying attention. People may be staring, but the mind may be elsewhere. Oh, I'm listening to a talk, but guests are expected very soon. I have to wait for the doorbell to ring and guests will come. Mind is elsewhere. One Vedanta teacher, he used to put it very nicely. You are here, but you do not hear. So unless the mind is attentive, even the eyes will not illumine everything. Mind is the light of the eyes. And what is the light of the mind? A consciousness. Oh, that consciousness. All right. No, you are that consciousness. You are the light of the mind. And through the mind, you illumine the sensory system. And through the mind and the sensory system, you illumine the sun with the physical light, which illumines the external world. So you are the light of lights, Jyotira Jyoti, your innermost, your real self. This is called Drashta, and that is Drishya. You are awareness, and everything else is an object. This is called Chetana and Jada. There are many ways of trying to point out what we truly are. I have given you 3 of my favorite ways. This changing and unchanging. Savikara, Nirvikara. You are the unchanging, everything else is changing. Everything else that you experience. Your experiences also are changing. So you are the unchanging. Then you are the experiencer, the subject, the witness, Drashta. Everything else is Drishya. And then you are Chetana, you are awareness. Everything else is an object, not awareness. Chit, Jada, Chetana and Jada. And there are other ways of pointing out also. Let me give you a couple more. Usually I talk about these 3, they are more than enough. But then a couple of more, let me give you. These are just, they're called yukti. They are called little arguments which will point you in the right direction. Another one is pratyak parag. You know, what is our intuition about ourselves? I'm in here somewhere. I never feel I am there. I feel I am here. And with respect to the body, I feel I'm somewhere in the body. I don't feel I'm out of the body. With respect to the mind, I feel I'm somewhere experiencing the mind from within the mind. I don't feel I'm outside the mind. I'm from within the mind. I'm illumining the mind. So I always have this feeling of myself as pratyak, inward, and parak, outward. So the world is outward, outside me, is external to me. Even the body is external to me. The breath is external to me. Thoughts and feelings are external to me. Our ideas, our understanding, also external to me, because I'm aware of them from in here. Upanishad says, Anyo antaratma, separate indeed, inward, subtler is the self. So this is pratyak parak. You are pratyagatma. Pratyagatma means inner self. Everything else is outward. Then you begin to isolate yourself as awareness. Another argument might be ekam anekam. Everything is compounded, composite. Physical things, you see, they're all, this laptop is composite of many parts. This body, extremely complex, composite of many parts. Even the thoughts is, even our life, prana, is a composite which is several processes go on there. Our mind, our thoughts, they are also composite. There are many, many little modules functioning. Modern positive psychology is also coming to the same conclusion. Multiple processes are running in the mind. It's a composite. But you are one. You never think of yourself as a composite, like a committee or a panel. You always think, I am one. Then you will see only one thing responsible connects to that. Consciousness is, as I think Heisenberg said, consciousness is the singular for which there is no plural. Is the one single entity for which there is no plural. So I am this awareness to which the display of the world is provided. And if you go a little further, display of the world is where? Follow this carefully. Our intuitive feeling is, I am consciousness and the world is external to me. But is the world external, like literally outside consciousness? But what do you mean outside? Where is the limit of awareness? Swami, it's pretty easy. Look around your rooms. The walls are the limit of your awareness. You don't know what's outside your walls. Yes, I can't see what is outside my walls. I don't have a direct knowledge of what is outside my walls through my senses, but I'm aware of something outside my walls as an unknown outside. That also I'm aware. That there is something outside these walls. There's a whole city which I cannot, and the city is something that I cannot see. I'm aware of it. It's still in my awareness as the unknown. This much in the room is in my awareness as the known. Known and unknown, both are in my awareness. It's not the limit of awareness. It's the limit of my vision. Do you see what I'm trying to say? The limit of our sensory knowledge is not the limit of your awareness. Even the world outside is also in your awareness as the vast unknown world. This will make it clear. Example of the dream. In your dream, maybe you're walking around and maybe you've gone to a zoo and you are watching the seals at play, sea lions at play. And are you not aware? There's a big zoo all around me. There are some place there are elephants and some place there are lions, but I can't see them yet. It's all a dream. When you wake up, what will you feel? Those sea lions I was seeing in the zoo, that part of the zoo I was seeing was entirely in my mind. And that imagined, the other part of the zoo which I was not seeing, that was also entirely in my mind. The whole thing, the known and the unknown, the seen and the unseen, the whole thing was in the dreamer's mind, exactly like that. Right now, tell me, is it not so? Not in your mind, but what you know and what you do not know, is it not both in your awareness, in a global sense of awareness? Make it even more clear, we have a physicist here, Bill Conrad. He is 97 years old. So he asked a question, often he asks this question: how do you say, Swami, that things are in your awareness? There's so many things that we do not see. They exist apart from our awareness. So this is the confusion between those who are philosophically trained. They will talk about realism versus idealism, subjective idealism. But Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta is not subjective idealism. I gave up an experiment to Bill. I said, Bill, he gave an experiment. He said, suppose we put a camera in this room and we leave this room. You and I, we both leave this room. Nobody's in the room. Only camera is there recording. When we come back and see the pictures in the camera, we will see everything was existing. Only we were not there. How do you say it's in your mind? It is existing outside your mind, outside your awareness. Then I said to him, Bill, just think. Isn't it a fact that in your awareness, you set up this experiment? You put the camera, switched on the camera. In your awareness, you told me, Swami, let us go out of the room. In your awareness, you said, let's go back into the room. In your awareness, did you not switch on the camera and see the recordings in the camera that the whole room was empty and nobody was there? That's also in your awareness. At no point can you jump. It's not possible. It's not logically possible even to jump out of your awareness into what? So everything is appearing in your awareness. Even that which we till now said, I am apart from everything. I am the witness. I am the unchanging. Everything is changing. I am the consciousness. Everything is an object. I am the experiencer. Everything is an experience thing. I am the innermost. Everything is outer to me. I am one. Everything is composite, many. We distinguished. It is true. You are apart from all of this. But most profoundly, all of this is not apart from you. Just as you exist without all the things that you see in your dreams. But what you see in your dreams does not exist without you. At no moment can it exist without you. All that appears in consciousness cannot exist without the consciousness which you are. Ashtavakra sings, Vishwam spurati yatredam taranga iva sagare tattvam eva na sandeho chinmurte vijwaro bhava. Oh awareness, he says, you are aware. He's calling you awareness. Oh awareness, the entire universe appears in you like waves in an ocean. Do not be at all confused on this point. The universe is an appearance in you, the real you the awareness. Then he says, Vijwaro bhava, be free of fever. What is fever? Samsara. This, we think we are in a big mess. I've got so many problems, and then one day I'm going to get old and die, and that's all in my life. No, no, no. Vijwaro bhava. You're perfectly all right. So this second step, I'm not only apart from everything and witness of everything, but the opposite also is true, that everything is an appearance in me. As one sadhu put it very beautifully, drashta to drishya se alag hai Mahatma ji, lekin drishya kya drashta se alag hai? Drashta and drishya, seer and seen, the two are separate, correct? The seer is separate from the seen. The seer can exist by itself without the seen. But can the seen exist without you, the seer? If you say yes, the two are separate and they can exist separately, that is Sankhya. That is dualism. But if you say it is an appearance in you, the consciousness, then it is non-dualism, because there is no second reality apart from you, the consciousness. Now, when you look at this consciousness from the perspective of you, this awareness, where is your problem? It does not grow old. Body grows old. Awareness does not grow diseased. The body can have disease and illness and cure. Awareness does not die. You are immortal. You have absolutely no fear of death. Ashtavakra sings, let the body remain for a lifetime, for eons, kalpantam, or adya, today itself let the body go. You are neither increased nor diminished even a little bit. You, the consciousness. Nothing happens to you. You're perfectly all right. And Ashtavakra always says, Sukhi, always in his verses, after the highest philosophy, he will say, Sukham chara, move about happily. Sukhi bhava, live happily. So I am pure consciousness. Should I stop walking, talking, eating? Should I sit down in meditation and give up the body? No, you walk, talk, eat, no problem at all. None of this is apart from you, the consciousness. You relax and be happy. Let the body and mind go on doing what they were doing. This is the Jnani's approach to life. Now, there is a saying, Dvaitam mohaya, bodhat prak, dvaitam mohaya. Before enlightenment, this duality leads to samsara, to delusion. This is good, I want it. That is bad, I'm scared of it. Raga, dvesha, preferences. Samsara comes from the sense of duality, separation from the world, my own smallness and helplessness. But then, prapte manishaya, once one becomes enlightened, I am Brahman, the ocean of consciousness in which the universe is an appearance. Then, bhakti artham kalpitam dvaitam. For the sake of bhakti, you again draw a line. I am this consciousness in this body mind. And that same infinite consciousness is now appearing to me as Sri Ramakrishna, as Ma Sarada, or as Ramachandra. Why would you do that? Bhakti artham. For the sake of devotion, for the sake of love, for the sake of joy, for the sake of fulfillment. See, in the Advaitic approach, what you will get at the most is called Shanta Bhava. You will have a peaceful contemplation of the display of this universe. You are that ocean of consciousness in which the universe appears like a wave. Then what should be your attitude towards it? Ashtavakra puts it nicely. Namamasti asahishnuta, he says. I'm not impatient with it. I am serene about it. Let the universe flow as it will. That's a good attitude. But even more fulfilling is if there is positive love, not just a peaceful attitude. When Ramachandra comes in the forest, in the exile, he comes across the ashram of rishis. And the rishis, they know he is God. They know he's an avatar of God. They just calmly say to him, we know who you are, Ramachandra, but for us, you are the son of Dasharatha. And Ramachandra also smiles and says, let it be so. He understands their attitude. That's the Shanta Bhava, the serene attitude of a non-dualist. But more joy is there, more fulfillment, more delight is there. Bhakti artham kalpitam dvaitam. After full Advaitic understanding also, one can have delight in God. Madhusudan Saraswati, who was a greater non-dualist than him, he is the author of the Advaita Siddhi, perhaps one of the final master works of Advaita dialectics. He says, in his commentary on Bhagavad Gita, Gurartha Deepika, in one place he says, if the Jnanis and yogis want to sit in meditation and be absorbed in the light in their hearts, let them do so. But for me, what I want is to see that little blue boy playing on the bank of the Yamuna. Who's the little blue boy? It says it's Krishna, the baby Krishna, or the child Krishna playing on the bank of Yamuna. For me, I want that. Who is saying this? The great non-dualist, Madhusudan Saraswati. How can he reconcile? Exactly as Hanuman reconciled thousands and thousands of years ago. Abheda Paramatmani, Vishnu, Lord Narayana, Srinatha, and my beloved Ramchandra, and I, we are all one consciousness. I know perfectly well. I know all your Drigdrishya Viveka and Panchakosha Viveka and Avasthadra Viveka, nothing. That's like small change for me. After knowing all that, I'm still saying, for me, Mama Sarvasva, Sri Rama Kamala Lochana. That should be our attitude to Ishta Devata. If my Ishta Devata is Holy Mother Sarada Devi, Sri Ramakrishna, or Ramachandra, then my attitude is my all in all in this life as this person is this. That is bhakti after jnana, post-enlightenment bhakti. One can be a fully committed Advaitin and be a bhakti. In fact, it is highly recommended. Before enlightenment, bhakti helps us, because the real problem in Advaita comes when you understand something through all these Advaitic techniques, but mind is impure and the mind rushes after worldly pleasures. So you have this dichotomy in the personality. One sadhu said, Rota wa jnani kisko pasand hai? You're a jnani. Yes, I realize I am Brahman. Then why are you getting angry? Oh, the mind is getting angry. I am not getting angry. Why are you are jnani, but the body has diabetes? Why are you greedy for sweets? Said, oh, the greed is there in the mind. I am the witness of the greed. That kind of jnani is not very impressive. What is the problem there? The mind has not been purified. The mind is purified by bhakti, even before enlightenment. And after enlightenment, it's a beautiful expression of enlightenment. How does the enlightened person live? Sri Ramakrishna says, with devotion. And Sri Ramakrishna says, Ei pakamot, my final opinion. Listen carefully when Sri Ramakrishna gives the teachings of multiple traditions which all flowed through that little room on the bank of Ganga in Dakshineshwar temple. Advaita Vedanta, Vaishnava Bhakti, Tantra, Shakti worship, Christianity, Islam, all flowed through that little room on the bank of Ganga in the Kali temple. But Sri Ramakrishna sometimes, rarely, he says his own opinion. This is one of the things he says, this is my final opinion. After all, and after enlightenment, full enlightenment, you stay for the remaining time of your life with devotion. Pass your time in joy with devotion to God. So, bhakti artham kalpitam dvaitam, advaitadapi sundaram. Then one more point I want to conclude. Not just I and God, it's still very private. I am Brahman, very private. I love my Lord, very private. What about the world? Just now we are reading in the Natal province in South Africa, there are these floods. So many people are suffering. There was a declaration. So one must respond. It is that same divinity which is appearing in all these ways. These are not two things, God, world. All true teachings of great spiritual masters will bring both together. It's not a private spirituality also. It must include engagement with the world. Thousands of years back, what does Krishna say to Arjuna? Ma manusmara yudhyacha. In the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, he says, the takeaway from the chapter is, you must remember God at the time of death, at the time of physical death. But in order to remember God at the time of physical death, one must make an effort to keep one's mind on God throughout. Mind on God means 3 things. Emotions, love must be there in the heart for the Lord. Second, focus must be there. The mind must consistently think of God again and again. And memory, recollect what you have learned about the Lord. So that keeping the mind on God throughout the lifetime, But then Krishna says, Mam Anusmara, think of me, Yudhyacha, fight this battle. You cannot stop your engagement with the world. We all live in your personal battlefield, Kurukshetra. You cannot withdraw from that. If you want worldly things, you must engage in it. If you want spiritual realization, you still must engage in it, but you must spiritualize it. Karma yoga. Look at Hanuman's life. Tremendous dynamism. Then after that, 2000 years ago, Lord Jesus Christ, you see it is now Easter, it's coming, Easter Sunday. Lord Jesus Christ says, the most important commandments in the whole Jewish scripture, the Torah, he says, of all the commandments, I read that there are more than 530. We think that there are 10 commandments, but more than 530 commandments are there in Jewish religion. He says, two things are most important, he says. Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and all thy might. Love God with intensely. One. And love thy neighbor. So both have to be there. You can't ignore the world. I and God, fine. Whatever happens in the world, I don't care. That is not an adequate spirituality. Then come down to our age. Swami Vivekananda. Atmano mokshartam jagat hitaya cha. Cha means and. For your own liberation. Yes, meditation, devotion, Vedantic inquiry for your own liberation. And they can give you your own liberation, but also service to humanity. Seeing that same divinity in all beings, especially if we are non-dualists. We cannot ignore the world because the world is not the world. It is Brahman. The moment I try to ignore the world, I say I am sufficient in myself. This one little being, Sarva Priyananda, should realize I am pure consciousness, finished. No, you are ignoring a vast part of your experience. What is the drishya? Did you not say the drishya is an appearance? It is not the snake, it is the rope. It is not the world, it is Brahman. If Brahman appears as the sick man, as the distressed person in a flood, as your neighbor who is poverty-stricken, it behooves us to express our spirituality as service. That is a huge subject. It's a great important path that Swami Vivekananda has laid out before us, a very powerful way of spirituality. You want enlightenment, you want peace of mind, you want to lead a noble life. All of them are possible through one path, through service. Through seeing the divinity in all the suffering in all these beings and then offering your best to them. It will immediately lead what you want as God realization, enlightenment, peace of mind, strength, protection from ups and downs in life, all will come to you most easily through the path of serving God in all humanity and in all sentient beings. Why just humanity? Hanumanji was the embodiment of the harmony of all these paths. Swami Vivekananda, he said, by any one of these paths you can attain enlightenment. But if you ask Swami Vivekananda, what is your recommendation? He will say all the paths. You have a power to do. Why don't you serve God by the power of doing? You have the power of loving. Why don't you love God with the power of your heart? You have the power of understanding. Why don't you use that power of cognition, understanding, to realize what the truth is about the world and about yourself? And you need to focus. All the powers of our mind have to be focused through meditation. 4 yogas. And a combination of 4 yogas, who better than Hanumanji? Today I pray to Lord Hanuman, to Sri Ramakrishna, Ma Sarada Devi, and Swami Vivekananda to bless all of us. May we be able to mold our lives in the example of Lord Hanuman. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Please see if there are any questions. We can take some questions.
Om Namo Narayana. Om Namo Narayanaya, Revered Maharaj. We offer our heartfelt appreciation to Sri Swami Sarva Priyanandaji Maharaj for a thought-provoking discourse. Thank you, Maharaj. We are grateful to Revered Maharaj for allowing us the opportunity to have a question and answer session. Devotees can post questions in the chat box, or you can raise your hand to ask the question. Revered Maharaj, the first question that we have is, many young people have been struggling with bullying on social media that bleeds into their school life. Recently, a 13-year-old child committed suicide after being bullied on social media. Maharaj, there's 2 questions to this note. Firstly is, how can young people cope with these challenges? And secondly, how can parents prevent children taking such drastic steps?
My immediate answer would be, I'm just thinking about Lord Hanuman. See the sheer vigor, and the word is teja, their power and radiance. Teja has two connotations, light and heat. So the power and radiance expressed by this character, one should bring up children, both boys and girls, all of them, first and foremost, be strong. So none of this bullying should have an effect, or you should be able to shrug off this effect on oneself. Don't be oversensitive, be a little tough, be more concerned about the welfare of others than one's own welfare. These children can be trained or inspired to be like this from childhood, and fill your mind with positive thoughts. We have all this positive psychology today. Hanumanji was the first original positive psychologist. Kumati Nivarana. See, all our problems are at the level of the mind. First, whether it's depression, unhappiness, all that drives us to misery in our lives, it enters as a worm in the mind. And the most powerful antidote there is the radiance that comes from Hanumanji's life. Kumati Nivarana means to wash out, to wipe out negativities in the mind. Fill your mind with positive thoughts, with thoughts of strength, thoughts of light, thoughts of greatness, not smallness. And these ideas, if they are imparted to the young, they read Vivekananda, read the lives of persons like Swami Vivekananda, and chant Hanuman Chalisa. It has an effect, actually. If you do that, do it at home, do it vigorously. It has a vibration which washes out negativities. They say, in India, everywhere, especially in villages and all, they have a clear feeling that they're afraid of ghosts. And so if you chant Hanuman Chalisa, it wipes out all of that. Now, you need not believe in ghosts, but we all believe in ghosts in our own way, ghosts and demons. Those are, the terrible things like this clinical depression. It can lead to suicide, or various kinds of mental ailments, unhappinesses caused by negativities. They are washed out by the sheer power. Just listen now, these beautiful renditions of Hanuman Chalisa are available on YouTube. Listen to it. You will see the clear difference in attitude once you do that. Reading Vivekananda has the same effect. Same effect as chanting Hanuman Chalisa or meditating on Lord Hanuman. Reading Vivekananda has that. It fills you with strength, and it can transform one's life, especially when one is faced with negativity.
Thanks very much, Maharaj. The second question we've got it's from Nikki Singh. My question for Swamiji is, Aham Brahmasi is easier to imbibe whilst in our spiritual practices. How can we practically apply this to our daily working and family life without getting egotistical?
When we say Aham Brahmasmi, it is not the ego. When we practice, you notice, I am the drashta, experiencer. I am the witness. But this I is not the ego. Why not? Because the ego is also something that is witnessed. Notice how Shankaracharya sings that Chidananda Rupa Shivoham, the first line, Mano buddhyahankara chittani naham, nacha shrotra jibhe nacha grana netre. But first line you see, Mano buddhyahankara chittani naham. I am not the mind. Why? Because it's an object. Remember all the arguments. Why am I not the mind? Savikaratvat, drishyatvat, jadatvat, paragbhutatvat, and then anekatvat. Because of all these 5 reasons I give you, if you remember, because it's changing continuously. I am the observer. It is observed. I am aware. It is something that I'm aware of. It is external. I am aware of it as something external to me, and it is a composite. I am one. These are 5 yuktis. We begin to see I am not the mind. I am not the intellect. I am not the memory. And then Shankaracharya says, Ahankara naham. What an amazing statement. I am not I. What do you mean I am not I? The pure I, awareness I, is not the ego I. So when you say Aham Brahmasmi, it is not I, Nikki Singh, who is Brahma. I am the consciousness shining on this little person, Nikki Singh. Just as I am the same consciousness in all beings, same consciousness who is Sri Ramakrishna and Ma Sharada and Swami Vivekananda and all of them, and Nikki Singh also. I am not the individual ego called Nikki Singh. So there is no problem of that. And in fact, it will give you strength in day-to-day dealings. When he says, Ashtavakra says, Sukham Chara. Sukham Chara means be active. He says, you are Brahman does not mean you will sit quietly in Samadhi. Chara means you will see, hear, smell, taste. You will walk, talk, work, have fun, play, everything you can do, serve, meditate. All you will continue to do. Sukham Chara. And Vijwaro Bhava. Be free of the fever of samsara. You be relaxed in action. If you think about it, what is it that makes us upset in this world? It is because we identify with the individual body, mind, personality, Nikki Singh, and I think I am that one only, I think. And then only problems start. But if I think all beings, including Nikki Singh, are in me, the consciousness, and I am in all beings, and then I am not mortal, I will not die with the death of the individual person. I am not upset or depressed with the depression of one mind. So then you are free of problems. You will be able to interact, you will be able to work and enjoy life much better. You will be a blessing to yourself and you will be the blessing to others also. Yes.
Thanks very much, Maharaj. We have another question. I'm not sure if I'm going to say it correctly, but it's from Saurav Bhattacharya. The comment is, or the question is it like form and substance? Respect the different forms, but know that they all have one substance in common. I'm not sure if Saurabh would like to clarify that, if I'm not saying it correctly.
No, I get it. It's from a philosophical perspective. Form and substance, you can use it as an example, but when you talk about Brahman and the world, it's not form and substance. Sometimes the language of substance is used. It's not form and substance. Form and substance would be more Nyaya Vaisheshika language, or in Western philosophy, language used by Plato, for example, form and substance. So here it would be reality and appearance is better. So respect, yes, but you're right. Respect the appearance and always be centered in the reality behind the appearances. And remember, the reality behind the appearances is you. That's the most dramatic revelation in Advaita Vedanta. There's one absolute reality in the universe. Many religious philosophies have come to it. But so strongly to say it again and again, you are that absolute reality of the universe. And that is the beauty and power of Advaita Vedanta. So yes, substance you can say, but better to say reality and appearance. One philosopher once said to me, he was a dualist, a great Madhva philosopher, he is. He said, it is his personal theory, that in the same Upanishads, if you ask 3 questions, you will get 3 philosophies. If you ask the Upanishad, what is real and what is false, reality and appearance, you will get Advaita Vedanta from the same Upanishads. If you ask what is full and what is part, whole and part, complete and partial, you will get Vishishta Advaita. Brahman is the whole, of which Jiva and Jagat are parts or aspects. If you ask what is independent and what is dependent, so Swatantra and Paratantra, you will get Dvaita Vedanta. Brahman is the Lord of everything and we are all dependent on Brahman. So the same Upanishads will give you multiple philosophies depending on how you interrogate the Upanishads. Is there anybody else who has a question? If you want to raise your hand and ask a question.
Maharaj, there's 2 more in the chat.
Yes.
I don't see any hands yet. First question is, Hari Om Swamiji, I have a question. If my understanding is correct, Brahman and God are the same. So can I claim myself as God if I am a Jivan Mukta, which means that I and the supreme gods like Rama or Shiva or Durga Devi are same?
Yes and no. Yes, if you want a direct answer, yes. But one must qualify that very immediately. let's put it this way. Shankaracharya himself sings in one place, the wave belongs to the ocean. The ocean does not belong to the waves. So God is the ocean and we are like the waves. So I cannot say I am God in that respect. That one has to be careful. But this I, the limited I, when you investigate it and complete the investigation, that I am not the body, not the mind, I am existence, consciousness, bliss. That existence, consciousness, bliss, from that perspective, God and you are identical. You are one undivided reality. I'm not directly saying you are God. Look at the language I'm using. Akhanda. There is no division in that absolute reality. From Brahman, in the perspective of Brahman, it is akhanda. Akhanda means, I'll give you the technical terms and leave it at that. Akhanda means bheda rahita, without any difference. What do you mean difference? Swagata, swajatiya, vijatiya, bheda rahita. Three kinds of difference are possible. There is Brahman and there is something other than Brahman. No, there is nothing other than Brahman. All right. But another kind of difference is possible within Brahman. No, the different. So there is Brahman, but there are many Brahmans. Suppose. So Sajatya Bheda. Like in Sankhya, you are Purusha, but there are many Purushas, Bahu Purusha Vada. And Advaita says no, there is only one Brahman. And then within Brahman, there is one Brahman and there is nothing apart from Brahman. Very good. But within Brahman, there are differences, like a part and a whole. Like in the same one body, there are differences of hands and feet and head and tummy. So within Brahman, there can be differences? No, there is no internal difference within Brahman also. That is Advaita Vedanta. Sajatiya, Vijatiya, Swagata, Bheda Rahita. Without any kind of the least distinction, one uniform, infinite awareness, existence, bliss. And that is what you are. That is what God is also. So in that sense, you are same as God. That means you means everybody, not you alone. Everybody is the same as God. Otherwise, that's megalomania. That's madness. I read the story about Ramdas. There was a monk called Ramdas, not the one who passed recently. Long ago, from India, there was a monk called Ramdas. So his brother was a little mentally ill. So one day he went to visit his brother in the asylum. His brother said to Ramdas, you know, it is very unfair. You say Shivoham and people worship you. They touch your feet and they worship you. I am Shiva. And I say I am Shiva and people lock me up in the asylum. This is very unfair. And then Ramdas explained, said, brother, when I say Shivoham, I mean we are all Shiva. We are that same reality. But when you say Shiva, I am Shiva, you mean that I am Shiva, you all fellows come and worship me. That is megalomania. They will naturally lock you up. So when I am God, if I say, in the sense that we are all that divine reality. Yes, in that sense.
Thanks very much, Maharaj. Will Maharaj be willing to answer 2 or 3 more questions?
All right, let's do a rapid fire round.
Okay. Pranam Swamiji, in Swami Vivekananda's teaching, Shiva Gyane Jiva Seva, isn't Shiva Gyane the essential condition? Without that conviction, will any noble deed, though carried out selflessly, constitute karma yoga in the true sense? I ask this question because I feel a bit confused when I hear Adi Shankaracharya's teaching in Viveka Chudamani. Vastude siddhi virachena na kaschit karma koti bihi. Hope that I pronounced it correctly.
Yes. You are right in the sense that real karma yoga, a vivid experience of worshipping God in all beings, is possible Shiva Gyani. Jnana means after realizing that Shiva is in all beings. Jnana means realization, knowledge. Not Shiva Bhave, believing that Shiva is there. But before that, if we take the spirit of it, Shiva Jnana Jiva Seva, Sri Ramakrishna said this, Swami Vivekananda said this, then Ma Sarada has exemplified it in her life, all her life long. And Advaita Vedanta is the foundation for this saying. Only from Advaitic perspective, this becomes relevant, that it becomes true. Shiva Jnana Jiva Seva. The Jiva is Shiva. So I can on that basis, I can start. Yes, I don't as quite see how this person is Shiva, unless actually, unless we see ourselves as Shiva, unless the clarity comes, Shivoham, that the other one is Shiva, it's difficult to understand. One must first realize I am Shiva. Then it will you see, oh yes, in all those beings, the same Shiva is there. But until that time, Shiva Bhava will do. With generate a bhava within yourself that the Lord is present, because the great ones have told me, the philosophies all say this. So therefore, I don't see it yet, but I will. By doing that, one will get it. That the old saying is there, today's imagination is tomorrow's reality. So what we are practicing today, we will uncover the reality, because it's there. It's not imagination. There are two kinds of imagination, you see. One is like Superman, Batman, kids or the comic writers, they imagine something and they write a comic book. Now, no matter how much you try to worship and meditate on Superman, Batman, it will never become real. It's a product of a creative writer's fancy. That's creativity. That's fine. But when you say bhavana, in Indian spirituality, it's a very deep word, bhavana. It's an attitude generated within. I think it's Abhinavagupta who defined it as a reality which exists already, but I am unable to see it at present. Now, as those who have seen it have told me, I'm trying to imagine it in that way, and I will see it soon enough. That is bhavana. It's not imagination. It is not a fancy of a creative mind. It's an actual reality seen by mystics throughout the ages, established and embodied in tradition, and handed down to me. I practice it, I will get it. Similarly, if you do Shiva Bhava and serve Jiva, you will get that same realization in time.
Thank you, Maharaj. The last question is, how does reflected consciousness interact with materialistic universe? And how does fundamental consciousness express itself in different forms?
Yes. The fundamental consciousness, as you call it, or the reality, consciousness with a capital C. You can call it consciousness, you can call it existence, you can call it bliss or ananda, it's the same thing. That one appears as this universe. And actually, you don't even have to believe this or don't think of it as a great philosophy. It's just a direct description of our experience right now. Look at your experience right now and at all times. So what is the simplest description of your experience of life? Your experience is that I am aware, and in my awareness, many things I am aware of. That's it. Those many things you are aware of are appearing in awareness. So that is the fundamental reality. Brahman, Sat, Chit, Ananda is appearing as this experience of life, as the seer and as the seen, Drashta and Drishya. Now, in this appearance, broadly, there are two categories, subject and object, the knower and the known. You are the knower. I am the knower. We are all knowers. And whatever we experience in this world is the known. For the pure consciousness to become a knower, it requires a certain equipment, which is called mind. In technical term, antahkarana. With the appearance of the antahkarana, that pure consciousness is now channeled in that antahkarana, limited in that or reflected in that. Many terms I'm using, each of them has a huge philosophical background. Avachedavada, Abhasavada, Pratibhimbavada. Big, multiple classes can be held on each of these things. But all of them have one meaning in common, that consciousness now becomes active as a knower, jnata. Active, you now deploy the powers of knowledge, desire, action, jnana, ichcha, kriya shakti with the help of the mind. So this is called reflected consciousness. So this is how it knows. What does it know? It knows all the objects. Now it is itself none other than that fundamental consciousness which you are calling fundamental consciousness. The objects are also nothing other than that fundamental consciousness. But with the mind appearance, that fundamental consciousness now appears as reflected consciousness, and with the appearance of names and forms, the fundamental consciousness now appears as objects, universe. Good way to understand this very easily is your dream. You, the dreaming mind, when the dream starts, you appear as all the things in the dream, whatever objects and people are there in the dream. And you also appear as the knower in the dream. You are yourself there in your own dream as a person. I think very nice questions. We should wrap it up now, I think.
Om Namo Narayanaya. Thank you, Maharaj, so very much for the question and answer session. And we have come to an end of the most spiritually elevating lecture and discourse that Maharaj has just delivered. It has been our absolute pleasure and privilege to be in revered Maharaj's holy company. We also take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you, our delegates, for joining us in today's program. To conclude today's webinar, revered Ishtaprana Mataji will offer the concluding prayers. Om Namo Narayanaya.
Om Namo Narayanaya. To everyone, words cannot express our deep appreciation to revered Maharaj for sharing this auspicious day with us. We feel as if Maharaj has actually come to Holy Mother's ashrama here in South Africa, but we're sorry, Maharaj, we cannot feed you with some prasad. So today's prasad is all the blessings that we have received, that we have heard, and which all of us really appreciate. We were supposed to have floods again this weekend, but through the grace of our Master, Holy Mother and Swamiji, we can say that we got away with a mere pinprick and it did not repeat itself. Maharaj, you have filled us with renewed hope and courage, and we feel blessed. We shall conclude now with a prayer. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj ki Jai, Mahamai ki Jai, Swamiji Maharaj ki Jai, Shri Siyavar Ramchandra ki Jai, Pavan Sutta Hanuman ki Jai, Shri Ambe Ambe Mat ki Jai. Om Namo Narayana.